Hi boys and girls, and welcome to our next social studies lesson on the Mexican economy. I know I normally don't make videos for social studies, however this one was a little tricky, so I kind of wanted to talk about it. Okay, our essential question for today is what factors have shaped the economy of Mexico? So today we're going to talk about currency, and currency is just the money that a country uses. So let's look at the US dollar. And then let's look at the Mexican peso. What do you notice are some similarities and what do you notice are some differences? Okay, looking at the names on it, you see numbers that tell you the denomination, okay, which means, how much it's worth. So even if it was written in that country's language, you could also, numbers are pretty universal. Okay, they have famous people on them, so do we. It has the bank name, Mexico, here you go, United States of America, serial numbers, okay? They're different, as in they're different colors. Some of them have more pictures. Their numbers are sideways, and anything else you could notice. Okay, we're going to talk about exchange rates. So one major difference is that the peso is not worth the same amount as the US dollar, meaning 100 US dollars or USD is not the same as 100 Mexican pesos. There's a thing called an exchange rate. So when you go to another country and they have different money, you go and exchange your American money for their money, and it's like a certain rate at which they switch the money over. So that helps us exchange or switch our money so that it is equal. For example, 1 Mexican peso equals about 4 cents of a US dollar. So if you were getting 1 US dollar, the conversion would be around 24 pesos. So if you went there and you bought something that was around 50 pesos, it's really like 2 US dollars. Okay, 5 US dollars would be 120 pesos. 10 US dollars would be 241 pesos, and a little more and a little less. Okay, but you get the gist. So what is an exchange rate? The exchange rate is how much one currency is worth compared to a different one. Okay, like we just compared the Mexican peso to the US dollar. It is the rate at which one currency can be exchanged for another, because not all countries have the same exchange rate. So if we wanted to go and exchange our money for euros that are used all over Europe, the exchange rate would be different. Okay, and exchange rates change daily depending on the economy of each country. Now, what is the economy? Economy is how a country manages its money and its resources. Okay, so how it takes care of all of its money, the buying, the selling, the industries, things like that. Okay, resources can be any goods or services. Goods are things that can be created and bought, while services are things that people do. Okay, so we are going to talk more about that here. Goods are items you can buy, such as food, clothing, toys, furniture, toothpaste, anything you could just go out and tangibly purchase. Services are actions such as haircutters, medical checkups, doctors, dentists, mail delivery, car repair, teaching. They're providing the community with a service. I'm also going to attach to this lesson in a link a brain pop video that you can watch about it just for fun if you would like to learn more about goods and services. Okay, managing resources. So there are different systems for managing all your resources that your country has. Okay, so we're going to discuss the 4 economic systems and learn how different countries manage their money. So the 4 systems are traditional, command, market, or mixed. And they're a little confusing, so I'm trying to break them down as simply as possible, and don't worry if they seem a little confusing to you. So a traditional economy is family or community-based economic system that relies on the customs and rituals to make its choices, meaning it is passed down from one generation to the next. Some examples are the Aborigines, which are people from like old tribes in Australia. You have Amazon tribes, third world countries, okay? Basically that means it's an economy where tradition and customs are in charge. So the economic activities are centered toward the family, the tribe, or the ethnic group. These are places where people live like where Keck was from in the book Home of the Brave, where it's not a huge neighborhood with like paved roads and schools and, big buildings and like neighborhoodish. It's more rural. It's more third world where things are like you all farm together, so that's what you do. There's not like stores and stuff like that. So it's like farming, hunting, gathering are done largely in the same fashion as generations have done before. Okay, choices are determined by the environment, meaning what can you do with the land and the climate around you? Can you farm? Can you build? Do you live near, forests where you're just going to be, chopping trees and making lumber? That kind of a thing. They use little or no technology, especially not like internet and computers and things like that. If they use some technology, it could be, more tools that help them with animals. That's also considered technology. Individual roles are clearly defined and everyone knows their part and what to do. Systems are generally well understood by participants, so everyone understands their part of the bigger scheme of life and how to work together. Um, Basically, and then I'm going to skip ahead to this one. It says your role in society is determined by birth, meaning if you were born a farmer, you grew up to be a farmer. If you were born as, the local medicine man, then your generations, you would pass it down to those below you, in your family, and you would all just be those people. If some people were the ones in charge of cattle and you raised cattle for the community, that's who you were. Okay, so everyone knows their certain role. It's just really rural and it's very just more tribe-like. And individuals have no control over the environmental factors. So if you have a year where you have floods or droughts or natural disasters, it really can mess up your whole economy. They're also not people who are largely trading with the entire world. So here are some pictures of what a traditional economy would look like. It's Inuits from, Alaska and their tribes. Maybe someone's a furrier, maybe someone makes their shoes. Things like that. Maybe people are just the igloo builders, and things like that. Then you have people who could be potters or make preserves, or people who are farmers, things like that. That's more of a traditional economy. And I do have a video for you to show you all of these things, but I also found the video slightly wordy, so I wanted to break it down for you, but I would watch it as well. A command economy is when the government makes all the decisions. There's no control over the people whatsoever. So some examples, not current day, but past examples were more like Cuba, China, or any communist or country that had a dictatorship. Okay, so a dictatorship is when there's just ruled by one person. So everything is controlled by the government. Businesses are created to meet the supply and demand. So supply and demand is, do people need it? Yes, they do. So we meet that demand. That's it. There's no excess. Okay, there's no competition. I wrote completion, sorry. Competition between companies. I think I can fix that now. I don't know why my spelling is so terrible today. There we go. Competition between companies. So there's no such thing as like Pepsi versus Coke. It's just their soda, and that's the soda. There are very few choices between products. For example, if you're going to buy ice cream, there's only one brand of ice cream. Like there's Breyers and there's nothing else. There's a little individual freedom. People are not allowed to just go out and be like, oh, I think I'm just gonna, open a shoe store. My brother-in-law who lives in Spain opened up his own shoe store because he wanted to design shoes, and that's just what he does. And, you can't really do that in those countries. You have to have some sort of a business that meets the supply and demand of all the people. The government determines the jobs, sets prices for goods and services. So like this is how much it costs to go to a doctor. This is how much, lettuce is. This is how much this is. They're very like strict with everything. Businesses are not for profit, meaning if any of your parents own their own business and they want to make money doing it, they can, maybe if they open, let's say, a gym, and then that gym does really well, then they open a second one because they want to make more money and it's profitable. It's making money. Businesses in these command economies are not allowed to do that. They are there to just meet the supply and demand, and that's it. There's almost no real command economies in the world today. North Korea is the closest one that is still there. And they're very isolated from the rest of the world. So these are some examples of command economies throughout history. You had the Soviet Union at one point, which was Russia under Joseph Stalin. You had China at one point, and you had Cuba when it was more communist under Fidel Castro. Okay, market economy is when individual business owners make the decisions based on consumer choices. So countries that have market economies are Mexico, United States, United Kingdom, Germany, and Canada. Now, ours is not a complete market economy, and I will talk more about that in a little bit. These countries have market economies because the prices of goods and services are set by supply and demand. So some of our prices are set by supply and demand. You can't go to the store and pay $200 for a can of tuna because we can get a whole bunch of them. The supply shows that they make enough, and we can just go and buy things at reasonable prices. Resources are owned and controlled by individuals. Economic decisions are made by individuals, competing to earn profits. So people are creating businesses and they compete with each other to earn profits. If you look, there's a million different grocery stores. There's a million different brands of things when you go out, and they're all competing with each other. Different freedom is considered individual freedom is considered very important. So people can decide to own what kind of business and do what they like with it. Economic decisions are made by the basic principles of supply and demand. Profit motivates for increased working rather than quotas. Quotas is like when they say you have to, sell X amount of, boxes of tissues by the end of the month. That's a quota. If you don't meet it, you don't get paid, or you don't get paid as much. Here it's more of the profit that you can make, the extra money that really motivates you. Okay, in a mixed economy is more like what we have today. It's individuals and the government share the decision making. Means of production are mostly privately owned, but the government guides and regulates the economy. Okay, this lets them set standards for the way things are sold so that one store can't charge you, $20 for a 6-pack of soda and another store is charging you like $1. Everything has to be kind of fixed. Okay, but people are free to open and do things how they would like to, and they can earn their own profits. Most countries are mixed economies. In a mixed economy, decisions are made by business and based on consumer demands. However, the government makes some decisions. They regulate trade, they ensure the safety of the consumers, and they protect the environment. Okay, so this is where these companies are listed twice because most countries are mixed economies, not specifically market economies like it had said before. So what you're going to do now is you are going to click the new link that I'm going to show you in a second. I made you all online social studies notebooks where you're going to have different questions posted all in the one document, kind of similar to what we're doing with the civil rights notes, all in one document. Okay, today you're going to see this graphic organizer. You're going to describe, here are the 4 economy types, describe the pros and the cons for each, at least one. Okay, what is a good thing? What is not a good thing of each kind of those? Okay, and I'm going to show you how to access that now. Okay, so when you click this link attached to the lesson, it says links for social studies notebooks. You're going to see all of your names in 2 nice neat columns, yes, including my little one here. Okay, and you click, which you don't have access to mine, so don't bother clicking it. Everyone only has access to their own notebook, so you can't mess up anyone else's. So if you click on it and you're not paying attention that it's yours, it'll say need request for access, then you should know that you are not in the right notebook. You click on your link, it brings you to your notebook. Here is my notebook, and here is lesson 7. You will also see lesson 8 underneath. Please do not do anything with that because you don't know what to do with it yet. You may see things down lower as things go on, and I paste things ahead of time. Just go through and write, what's a pro of this? Families work together. Or whatever it is. Con, no technology or room for growth. So you just click and you could type right in it, and then it'll all be in yours. It says all changes saved, so you just X out when you're done, go back to the lesson and click turn in. nothing will show up on your page because it's in here. And don't worry about it. I will see it. If I don't see it, I will let you know. Message me if you have any questions. Good luck.